Evers College. The weekly radio program highlighting Caribbean social and cultural affairs airs on WNYE 91.5 FM and stream live on Facebook at Caribbean Focus CF as well as Caribbean Research Center at MEC. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. It is a pleasure to have with us today an innovator, entrepreneur, and businessman, Mr. Vaughn Constable. Vaughn is the creative brainchild behind his very own brand, Twist by V. Welcome, Vaughn, to Caribbean Focus.
Hello, Hermina. Thank you for having me. Thanks. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I want to begin, for those who do not know, where you're from or your nationality. Could you tell us a little bit about your nationality and your homeland?
All right. I I I am from Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia is a 230 square mile island located between Saint Vincent and Martinique, and I was privileged, I would say, to have been born on the island, and I lived there until I was 24 years old.
24 years old. When you talk about um, being on the island and actually being there 24 at 24 years old, your migration to the United States of America, how did that affect some aspects of your life?
Well, there is something that comes with being in America, but having lived into adulthood on in the Caribbean. And one of the things I appreciate most about it is the fact that the mannerisms, the culture, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you speak, the way you dance, the way you prepare your meals. It is something that I continue to take with me. I continue to live with here on a day-to-day basis living in America. The transition, I mean, everyone has their migration story, and as anything else, moving here has opened, so many doors of opportunity and resources that I've been able to take advantage of, educationally, academically, business-wise, and yes, it's really a stepping stone, but the footstool of having the upbringing of the Caribbean culture and having parents who still instill, those cultures and values, is a great part of who I am.
And to that note, indeed, charity begins at home. So I want to ask you about your role models growing up, and did they have any influence on you blending your creativity with academia?
Absolutely. I think it began, I mean, I not think, but I know for sure it really did begin with my parents. My mom is a retired school teacher, and academia was something that was very much instilled in our household. We were always at a table with books. We always had to do our work before we went to play. And there was always a lessons happening, be it in the school or after school at our house. And my dad was a tradesman. He built houses. He did, tiling, plumbing, painting. He built houses for a living. He was also a farmer. So I know a lot of my creativity came from him, and the merger of the two, it is something that is very present in my life, in my career, and in everything that I do. Along the way, I mean, I was very privileged to have forged relationships with a lot of entities, bodies, individuals as well, who really nurtured that. I have to give a lot of the credit I give to Bay Gardens Hotel and the stint that I did there in Saint Lucia. It's a hotel chain, small hotel chain that locally owned and managed by Saint Lucia. And I worked there. It was really the only job that I kept on the island prior to moving to the United States, and a lot of my creativity, was tapped into there. I remember one year I got the award for creativity and innovation from the managers. So yes, I say that between my parents, the community, and my employment, it really forged the way forward for what you see or what is in here today with Twist.
Congratulations on your award. And then, as we continue speaking on the idea of creativity, it is a vital component of innovation, which I introduced you as such. You being an innovator, please share with us how you single-handedly created this global brand, Twist by V.
So we don't wake up one day and say, okay, we're going to create a brand today. Okay. Um, Twist was the brainchild of something that started in 2016. In 2016, I was commissioned to make a, a set of bow ties for an enterprise, and the word got around that I had made bow ties for a company, and it was the October of that year we had run into a fundraiser for breast cancer. A really good friend who is a survivor, she was having this event over on Flatbush Avenue, and I mean, at that time it was just Vaughn and bow ties.
Hmm.
Vaughn making pink bow ties to raise funds for her organization, and we were there. It was called Tickle Me Pink at the time, and if I may say, and at that event there were other people in attendance. There was a particular lady in attendance by Dion Davis, and Dion is from Trinidad, and she spearheads the Brooklyn Purple Power movement for domestic violence. And she came over to the table and she said, "You know what, Vaughn? I'm having a fundraiser next week. I would love for you to come with some purple bows." At the time, I was in college. I was still in college, and she said, "I would love for you to come with your purple bow ties." And then I went over the following weekend, with my purple bow ties, and that event was being held at Bright Point Health. At Bright Point Health is on Nostrand by St. John's or Bergen is one of those streets over there. Brightwood Health in Crown Heights, and Brightwood Health, they do advocacy for people who live with HIV and AIDS. So the coordinator of Brightpoint Health at the Purple Power event, he comes over to the table and said, "You know what, Vaughn? I really like what I see here. For World AIDS Day, we have a week long of vendor activities. We'd love for you to come with your red bows." So it moved from pink to purple to red over the 3 month period, from October through December. And by December, it really took a turn when, I would make these bows and give these organizations the money. And I was essentially, I was giving what I did not have, because I would get the fabric, make the bows, and sell the bow, and sell them. And it was not until the January of 2017, my mentors, got, I came to the realization and the understanding that I had to register as a company to make the bows, and let Bows for a Cause run as just a campaign to raise awareness and funds. So that is when I had to decipher and separate the two. Um, and that is how Twist got established.
Speaking on the bow ties for a cause campaign, as you and I do not want to, again, it is part of that same entity. What is the mission of this campaign, the bows for a cause campaign?
Bows for a Cause, if you go to bowsforacause.com, Bows for a Cause is a campaign that allows individuals and organizations to raise funds and awareness for various causes. So we have five of them here that are, but we're not limited. So it allows companies. So what we'll do, we would use the logos of companies or organizations into the fabric, because we do custom make our fabrics for our products, and we'd use the logos. So be it for like staff appreciation or customer appreciation, we make a bow for the men and the scarf for the women. Twist makes the product, and the organization chooses whichever charity that they would like to support, and a percentage would go to that charity. That is the Pose for a Cause campaign.
Excellent. And with the idea of and the launch of Twist by V and the the Bows for a Cause campaign, how was the reception both locally and internationally? Were there any challenges, any success?
Of course, there are successes, and with successes would always come challenges. We were privileged and very humbled to have been able to launch the campaign in St. Lucia in 2019, and we've been working with many organizations and charities over the years for the various causes. Mental health is something that is very dear to my heart. I lost my dad to mental illness. My dad died of suicide in 1998. And with that in mind, a lot of the support, a lot of the resources that I've been able to tap into for my own closure and counsel has been with an organization called In My Mind Health. In My Mind Health conference is the only mental health conference in the United States, so I think over around the world, that does advocacy and supportive services for gay Black men, and it is held every October, and last October was the 8th anniversary of that conference. When it comes to mental health first aid, it is one of the things that I always speak about, being able to identify the signs and symptoms of someone who may be a threat to themselves or to someone. And yes, it is something that is near and dear to me, and I will do everything within my power to ensure that we have less people committing suicide.
It is definitely a personal connection, as you are explaining. And, the tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented challenges, both for people and society worldwide. Concerning the economy, an article in the National Bureau of Economic Research titled The Impacts of COVID 19 on Racial Inequality in Business Earnings. Robert W. Fairlie states that many small businesses have closed, lost revenues, or downsized as a response to health and economic disruptions caused by COVID 19. How were you and your brand affected by these challenges, and did it present any new innovations?
Absolutely. Twist was forged, with the bows concept. So our first product was making bow ties. And the first thing that happened when COVID came is to stop all events, social events from happening. So we could not have worn bow ties. We could not have worn any bow ties. So we had to pivot. We had to pivot and find lifestyle products that people would interested in, more or less. It was not our plan to even make masks at the time,
Mm.
and Twist developed a collection of masks. One of the departments within Twist is making flag inspired products. So we do have flag bow ties for a range of Caribbean islands, and we started making masks for Caribbean islands as well. We made masks for schools, we donated to hospitals, and it was one of the products that sustained us for a while. For yeah, I believe for the greater part of 2020, it was masks, and then from 2021 we had to rejuge again, and we developed Body by Twist, which is a subsidy of Twist by V. Body by Twist is a skincare line for all skin types, all natural, paraben free, sulfate free, cruelty free products, um, which is sold and fulfilled by Amazon. We also developed Twist Aroma, which is the candle collection. Twist Aroma started with an astrology collection. So we developed the fragrance for every zodiac. We have 12 of them on our website. We also developed candles using tropical fragrances. For example, we have a cocoa tea fragrance for Saint Lucia. We have a nutmeg fragrance for Grenada. We have a mango. We have a guava, passion fruit using tropical fragrances and flavors. I say flavors, because it but they're fragrances, so that is two of the other markets that we've been able to tap into, as far as products. We've also used those candles for causes as well. We had a particular person who suffers with lymphoma cancer, and she also was able to benefit from one of our Candles for Causes campaign not too long ago. So with every product, I could safely say that we've been able to incorporate or serve onto the module of giving back, which is the mission of Twist and Bows for a Cause.
And we're going to get to that shortly. Your brand has been honored to present its products to mom and pops shops in Brooklyn, New Jersey, Washington D.C., as well as the Tanger outlets. Is that outlets? Is that how you say that?
Yes, yes, yes.
And Charlotte Premium Outlets in North Carolina, and Miami International Mall. As we return to some form of normalcy, you were recently stationed at Medgar Evers College for the grand finale of the Grand Market series and Christmas concert series. How was this experience?
All in all, it's always fun to be able to connect one on one with our patrons, with our customers, throughout the United States. We do pop ups throughout. We get organizations reaching out to us. We get organizations who are interested in the campaign. So, with that said, when my really good friend Andrew Clark, who heads the Brata movement, and this grand market that they do, is something, it's something to be held. Brata does advocacy for the preservation of culture and Caribbean heritage. And it is something that's near and dear to me as a son of the soil, they call him and they call myself. It would go without saying the love that we have for our country, the love we have for culture. And this Caribbean focus, I believe, fits right into the mission and the vision of what it does for our people, and exhibiting at the holiday market gave not just myself or my island an opportunity to showcase, but to let the Caribbean and members of the wider Caribbean be aware of the movement and what Twist stands for. Um, Brata is one of those organizations that have actually benefited, that we continue to support with the campaign. So it is something near and dear to me, and we were very happy and grateful to be able to be part of that.
The Twist by V brand began strictly as a Saint Lucian product. Am I correct in saying that?
I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. It started through Bows for a Cause that did things for people who were un-Saint Lucian, not Saint Lucian. However, the flag inspired products is one department within Twist.
And which actually leads to the follow up question, as far as asking what is your vision for including the wider Caribbean basin?
Okay. So the Saint Lucia flag bow tie was endorsed by the Consulate of Saint Lucia here in New York. And that was launched in 2019 in St. Lucia. And the premise for that bow was to be able to be made on the island. Um, from the inception of bow ties, we've had a lot of men asking for long ties. And I have to say, this year, 2023, we've designed the long tie and we're launching that for St. Lucia's Independence this year. Um, the whole point of the endorsement and calling this a product of St. Lucia was able to give the product a push and to forge a new department for flag inspired products.
Mm.
And the hope at the time was for those products to be called Made in St. Lucia. And for, I would say, the past 4 or 5 years we've been trying, and I have to say, last November we were finally approved for the Saint Lucia company called Twist Saint Lucia Limited. So Twist Saint Lucia Limited has been established, and it's a company based in Saint Lucia that makes these products. We were super duper excited to finally be able to go home, set up manufacturing, employ staff, train people, train staff to make those products on there, to make them all CARICOM products. I could go as far as saying that we've actually started making ties for at least 4 different Caribbean islands. And the hope is by the end of this year we could have that number at 12.
So I would want to ask, what motivated you to endorse your product to be made in St. Lucia?
I was made in St. Lucia. I was made in St. Lucia. Um, the opportunity that presented itself, to be able to broaden the scope of reach, for the global brand, it just made sense and just sat very well with me. Giving back is something that comes automatically with the brand, and it just makes sense to have it made home. Um, yeah, yeah.
And I want to piggyback on that because Twist by V has a very unique model, as you mentioned, for giving back to your homeland community. Why is that important? Giving back. Why is that very important?
Because that is who made me. That is where I'm from. That is who I am. Where that's who like, it does not make sense any other how. um
No matter how you twist or turn it. Okay.
yeah, that's what it is for me. Yeah, I this is all I can say. It just only makes sense. Like, I don't see any other way for it to happen. um I mean, I go back so very often, and it just makes sense with development of anything else that it just has to be made on the island, and you have to support where you come from, and that is where I'm from.
Excellent response. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs? I mean, you definitely have the passion. It is there, and you can definitely be that model, or in encouraging young entrepreneurs. Definitely, I would say the passion has to be there. You have to have the passion, like Vaughn
Yeah, yeah.
first, right? So, what advice would you give young entrepreneurs?
Yes, in addition to passion, it because it really has to be something that you like. It has to be something that you love, because it is you should not get into it for money, because everybody wants to start a business and think that they're going to make $1 million in a few days or weeks or months. But there is no timeline on profit. However, before you do make a profit, it's going to be a long time before you make a profit. So you want to make sure that it is something that you love. You want to make sure it is something that you enjoy doing, because it's going to take a long time, and you don't want to be caught up doing something you don't like doing for a long time
Mhm.
before seeing something coming back in returns. Okay. The other thing too, you have to ask a lot of questions. You have to have a plan, and you not necessarily, I say, stick to the plan, but always be open to change. Always be open to counsel. Always be open to correction. Always be open to suggestions from the right people. Surround yourself with a supportive system. Surround yourself with people who will help pull you. Surround yourself with people who will give you honest feedback. Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you. Surround yourself with people who will that that you could learn something from. I cannot stress that enough. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to tell you, you know what, I don't think it's a good idea. But guess what? It only takes one person to say, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's put it on paper and let's get this transaction situated so we could go from point A to B to C. Let's storyboard the idea. Let's write it down and see, okay, maybe we could tweak this a little bit or tweak that a little bit, but don't tell me, no, you know. And oftentimes we are faced, with a culture of people who don't necessarily believe that doing things that are not of the ordinary is for us,
Hmm.
and unordinary things were done were done by others. They were done by other people, so what makes one believe that it is not for us? So we could be the change that we want to see. And it's one of the philosophies that I live by. I will prove you wrong. You tell me no, but I will take I will I will take pride in proving you wrong.
You are indeed a change agent and participating in a series and plethora of events, both locally and internationally. Could you uh, give us some information of what you currently involved in, as far as any events or
Okay. Currently it's this is February. So February is a very heavy month for Twist. Especially because of St. Lucia's independence is held in February. We were celebrating on the 22nd, and every independence there is a tour that Swiss does throughout the diaspora. So we have been connected with the St. Lucia associations throughout the United States for a number of years. We go to Canada, we go to the UK, to connect with the High Commission for Independence celebrations that they have there. And recently, we've been doing it with Grenada because Grenada also celebrates independence in February. So our flag products have duplicated now from St. Lucia and including Grenada. These products that we use throughout the diaspora promoting throughout independence celebrations, they're oftentimes packaged with the independence galas that those various cities hold. And with the Boats for a Cause, what would happen? These products would be included into the tickets to the Independence Gala celebration. So everyone who buys a ticket to the gala gets a product. And the percentage then would go to the associations. So be it the Association of Georgia or the St. Lucia Association of South Florida or the Association in Connecticut or Toronto. That is one of the ways in which, we've been able to partner with or work around the diaspora and build our brand globally. And yeah, so that is currently happening. That is what's happening right now in the scheme of things twist for the month of February.
great. And if anyone wants to find out or get more information about you, to my listening and my viewing audience, where could you direct them to?
Our websites are bowsforacause.com, twistbyv.com, or vaughnconstable.com, or you could send an email to sales at twistbyv.com, twistbyvee.com.
And I could see on display already your tie. Um, how I mean it looks lovely.
Thank you.
I like the shine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we go, the process, in creating, um, how would you say that process entails? Just the textile process, of creating, choosing colors, make sure that it blends well.
So recently I had the pleasure of communicating with actually the designers of the St. Lucia flag. Okay, relatives of the great Dunstan St. Omar for St. Lucia. And understanding color palettes is something that, I mean, with a creative knack, of course, with my background in graphic and web design, being able to maneuver, palettes in Photoshop and Illustrator, all of these softwares that we use. Yes, these are technically designed on my computer, and they are printed into fabric. So these fabrics are custom printed by us. They're signature fabrics, signature prints. So yes, we do own the rights, not to the flag, but to the design that we use on all of our products. So you not find these prints anywhere else. They're owned by Twist by V. And yes, they're our custom printed fabrics. And being the creative person that I am, it comes. I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, we're gonna cut some fabric today. Are we gonna paint some fabric? Are we going to sew some fabric? And yeah, there's no explaining of.
I mean, that's excellent. And, again, even with what you're doing, you did reiterate what I mentioned about the passion. It shows, it's there. You've pretty much, can I say, a dedication that you've made.
I eat it, I breathe it, I sleep it. It's all I do. It's what I do. Yeah, yeah.
That's excellent, and definitely it shows. And I want to thank you so very much for joining me on Caribbean Focus. This interview was enlightening. I must say, being from Saint Lucia myself, you mentioned being from Tiroche. Um, I know the T means small, but I never knew it people as little rocks.
Yes, Wash is rock.
To
Tiwoshe,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tiwoshe is a little rock. T-wash, T-wash.
You
On
see,
T-wash,
I,
we
you see, I need some
on
more.
T-wash. Yeah,
Okay, now that makes sense. So not only was this interview enlightening, but I got some schooling as well. So I want to thank you so very much for joining me on Korean Focus. I'm wishing you continued success in this and your future endeavors.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Caribbean Focus, and thank you to all the listeners out there. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. And this has been Caribbean Focus. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye.